good tips and ideas and inspiration for handling your grief, whatever it may be, whatever your loss, during everything that the holidays bring. So I will I want to make sure that you do have my handout is really helpful, and you can follow along with the handout. I like to print it out and have a hard copy so that I can make notes because I'm old, and that really helps me just center my thoughts more, and and then I also have a little bit of sort of homework in there for you. So if you want, you can just watch this and grab the handout later, but there is a link under the discussion um, that links to these handouts for every week's content. So this week we are talking about to celebrate or not to celebrate. And we're taking a new look at old traditions. So I found a survey recently that where an audience of grievers was polled and asked how they were going to celebrate the holidays while they were grieving. And uh, only 3% said they were going to just do everything like usual. I don't like using the word normal. Um, do everything like usual and just go about their holidays and not change anything, which to me, in this large of a study, that's practically no one is going to just steam through and treat the holidays like any other year. And then there were about 20%, 22% of the people said that they were going to revise their celebrations, revise their traditions, which personally I think is extremely mentally healthy because, of course, as we know, grief changes everything. You're not the same person that you were before loss, and you never will be, because the loss of a loved one alters you, your life, and a lot of the lives of the people that you care and of your family and friends. And then there were about 24% who said they were going to, I hope my numbers add up here, going to have moments where they would create or incorporate a specific experience that would honor their loved one. Also, very mentally healthy. Um, Keeping that connection and adding that love and connection into the holiday and into traditions is a really powerful way to keep your loved one as a part of your life and your love. And then 45% or so said that they had absolutely no idea how they were going to navigate the holidays. They didn't know what they were going to do. They just couldn't even think of how they were going to approach this. And that's so almost half of the people didn't know how they were going to handle this. So that really, to me, that's very telling, in that I think a lot of people don't know how they're going to deal with traditions and celebrations. I speak to a lot of people that just say, I don't want to do anything. Now, of course, your grief is unique. Your loved one was unique. You are unique. Everything about your grief experience is completely unique to you. So, as always, when I do my workshops, this is universal content that I'm able to share with you. If I was working with you one on one in grief coaching, or if you were in one of my programs for grievers, then we'd be able to get a lot more specific because I would be working with you personally. So what I do is I sort of throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall here in these workshops and hope that some or a few of these ideas and inspiration help you find some validation and see yourself, and give you some content and some roadmap for maybe how you can um, make it through the holidays in a more healthy and connected way, even though you're grieving. So one of the things I like to start with is by saying that these workshops are my lightest content, because they are universal and because this is a live feed or a replay, and I'm not interacting with you while I'm delivering this. I keep it universal. I keep it the lightest content that I do, even though I can do some guided imageries, and we're obviously covering profound and deep topics here: the loss of loved ones, uh, handling grief, figuring out how you're going to move forward with your life and what your life is going to look like, and how you're going to function in relationships and work and family and everything else, moving forward after a loss. Um, that this content is more my way of adding some light, some inspiration, um, some peace of mind into the side of the equation to help balance the sadness and the devastation and everything that loss and death and grief bring. So my deeper content are my programs. And then, of course, the deepest work I do is one-on-one grief coaching, because it's completely about you and your unique needs. So to start with, I want to talk about expectation. Um, in living a healthy life, even without grief and loss, expectation uh, can be a heavy burden when it comes to how you are functioning after the loss of a loved one, and then facing holidays on top of that loss. These things combined really compound expectations. I jokingly say that, you know, Santa might have been the first Instagram influencer, in that this, not only do we have this looking outward, which I actually might recommend that you just try to stay away from looking at other people's holidays on Instagram or online or Facebook. There is this picture perfect holiday expectation that's already present in our lives and in our culture and society, that everything has to be perfect and all the memories and all the tradition. You know what I mean? The pressure of the holidays is a huge burden. When you compound that on top of being in grief, it's just too much. So one of the first things that I ask people to do is really, you know, take a deep breath, and really, what we're going to do today is sort of mentally clear the decks a bit of any expectation and any judgment, so that you can then take one thing at a time and look at it and make non-judgmental, non-expectation, if that's a word, decisions about how you're going to approach celebrations and traditions. Of course, there is the option of, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. I'm We're flying to Hawaii. We've never been there before. I'm just out this year. That's your right. Absolutely. Again, since I don't know right now exactly your experience, did you just lose a loved one? Is this your second anniversary of a holiday where it's really the nostalgia and the memories and deeper grief are hitting now? There's so many forms of grief that if you're in acute grieving, usually the holidays are just sort of off the table. If it's, you know, a month or 2 months ago and you had a catastrophic loss, a traumatic loss, and you're just still in this acute traumatized place, it's okay to just say, we're just skipping this year. There's always next year's holidays. Um, it's I'm not telling you what to do or what decisions to make. I just want to make it clear that you have the right to make any decisions that are right for you. So what I was saying is that there's people are thinking, well, I've only got two choices. There's either I just can't do it and I can't handle it and it's off the table and we're just going to fly to Timbuktu, or this pressure that, you know, we have to have this holiday, or I don't want to lose a holiday because I want to be honoring my loved one. being with them was a big part of my holiday. So you see, there's this real dichotomy, this real tug of war that happens internally of what to do. And what I'm saying is, when we get more centered and we come from this place of alignment and we get in touch with the deeper aspects of ourself that are loving, wise adult, higher self, um, the non-conscious part of you that isn't in so much trauma, shock, overwhelmment, sadness, anger, grief, all the things that grief brings, you make better decisions from this centered, loving, balanced place that is still alive and well in you, even if it doesn't seem that way. So I always want to get my people that I work with aligned with that place before you start making decisions. Because the fact of the matter is, in between this very black and white dualistic mindset, which is kind of a trauma response, there's either this or there's that, there's all or there's nothing, there is this whole range of full color of healthy decisions that are right for you and your experience and your circumstances and your family and your children if you have them. So what I want to do is to make sure that I'm helping you make decisions that are right for you. So one of the things that comes up, so first of all, expectation. You are bringing enough expectation to the table from the inside. You just don't need it from the outside. So maybe limit social media um, during the holidays. Looking at other people's holidays is just excruciating. And yeah, it's just, you just don't need that kind of pressure. The other thing is with our old loss, and if we have older loss or a foundation of early loss in childhood, or you've lost primary people in your life before now, when it comes to the holidays, we have all of these memories of loved ones past. I guess we are haunted by the ghost of Christmas past all the time. Every year, the holidays come up. And that could be someone you lost 20 years ago. The love and the memories and the nostalgia and the grief are very front and center during the holidays. So not only are you dealing with whatever current loss you're having or recent loss, you are then having all of this ghost of Christmas past loss coming into the picture when it comes to the holidays, or ghost of whatever holiday past. I work with all faiths, religions, belief systems. I just wanted to throw in a little cultural reference for the ghost of Christmas past, A Christmas Carol, mainly because I actually read that every year. It's one of my traditions that I started recently after I lost someone close to me. I read A Christmas Carol every year for the holidays. And it's a new tradition that I added in. That wasn't a family tradition, or I didn't get that from anywhere else. And it's something that really matters to me now. I take the time to do it. I do it with reverence and with love, and thinking of this person that I lost when I do it. And that is creating a new tradition that can support you in your grief during the holidays. So, and it doesn't have to be A Christmas Carol. I also have another book that I adore that to me heralds the beginning of my holidays, and it's a couple of stories. This actually was given to me by someone who is still alive, and but I read it in honor of the numerous friends that she and I have lost that we used to celebrate the holidays with. And it's a little anthology of 3 stories by Truman Capote, and they're so exquisitely written, and they are holiday related stories. So that's a new tradition I added in maybe 5 years ago after one of our closest people that we used to celebrate the holidays with passed. So all of our old holidays show up every year, and people that we've lost and people that we're thinking of. It's a very um, nostalgic and memory filled time of year. So, one of the things that's really important with working with the holidays and these celebrations, so if you are going to celebrations, if you have chosen to go to a celebration or to have one that you like to host, if you're able to do that and you've decided that's the right thing to do, one of the important things to do is to feel your feelings. We think that if we're going to a party or we're hosting something that we've really got to hold it together and keep this sort of perfect facade together because it's the holidays and because of other people's experience. I think one of the most beautiful, loving, and inspirational things you can do is cry in front of other people around your grief and loss. Um, if you're overwhelmed, you can take a break or go to the restroom or get away from the celebration. In the previous videos of day 1 and day 2, we talk about a griever's rights and we talk about dealing with the world. I go much deeper into this topic of attending a gathering and being authentic with yourself and having the right to feel your feelings and having the right to feel your feelings around other people, regardless of how they react to you. So I would highly recommend watching those if you have not. But I don't want you to be worried that if you do decide to go to a celebration that you're not thinking, well, I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I don't want to be, crying in front of people. I don't want to make other people sad. You honor your loved one with the full range of your emotions. You also maintain your support for yourself. And the healthiest grieving you do is feeling your feelings. That is one of the major 6 aspects of healthy grieving, is feeling your feelings. So I don't want you judging yourself and not feeling feelings because you're around other people or you're worried that you're going to make other people sad. This is your grief. A very sad thing has happened. I think it's very authentic, and I think it actually helps other people. Not that that's your responsibility, but I do think it helps other people open up to their own feelings of sadness as well. It may not be something that you're going to do in a super public uh, scenario at a work party, but you may then find yourself off in a corner talking with someone if you're crying and really having a profound shared experience with someone who didn't really know what to do or say around you in your grief. Because always remember that grief is love. So feeling your feelings is honoring your loved one, and it's honoring your grief and honoring your love for them. So my next topic is that celebration guilt. If you do opt to go to a celebration or continue a tradition or go to a celebration or host one, celebration guilt will probably come up. Guilt and shame are very burdensome. Guilt is actually a natural part of grieving, and I'll do whole seminars on that on another night. But I'll just leave you with that little nugget that everyone that loses a loved one feels guilty. And if there isn't something to feel guilty about, our brains create it, and it's sort of it's a little bit of a survival mechanism, that this idea that we have some agency over loss and death. But you may have some celebration guilt. I would prefer that you integrate, not I would prefer, I would suggest and recommend that a healthy way of grieving is to integrate some life into your grief. Now, this usually is something that happens as we move into ongoing and more mature grieving. I want to make sure you don't think that if you're in acute or early grief that I'm saying, oh, you should be celebrating because it's a healthy way to grieve. This has to be navigated based on how you are doing, who you are, what your loss was, who the person was, how recent it was in your life. But if you are going to a celebration or having one, I want you to know that you have the right to celebrate and to have moments of joy and happy memories and happy nostalgia of your loved one. That's what the holidays bring up. Then I want you to have those without judgment and without repercussion, not judgment from yourself or judgment from other people. So that's referencing your grievers' rights in day one and referencing dealing with the world in day two, or in those replays about dealing with people that may judge you, that you're laughing and having a great time at a party. Heaven forbid you had 5 minutes of joy in months and months of grief. That moment is a big drop in the bucket on this side of the scale. That helps you live and go on and integrate life and grief together, because that's long-term, lifelong grieving. Eventually, we find ways we don't just get over grief, we don't heal it, we don't fix it, we integrate it. And it takes time. It takes time. So if you happen to have this moment of joy during the holidays, take it. Take it. Take it. I say to my grievers when they're being so hard on themselves that, even taking that moment and having that moment of joy woven into your grief actually helps you be a better griever. Even Olympic athletes take some time away from the training of all of this perfectionism. So I have other topics about the perfect griever, and being human is what matters. So don't feel guilty about being happy or having celebratory moments. So what I want to talk about are your choices of celebrating previous traditions and to celebrate or not to celebrate. It can be all the way over here and you're not celebrating at all. Great decision. You can be full in, but like only 3% of those people. Most people aren't going to do that. And frankly, I'd rather see you integrating traditions, new traditions that honor your loved one, moments away from some traditions, revising some traditions, creating something that is honoring just your loved one and bringing other people into it, and making some decisions. Grief changes everything. I like to tell that story of the indigenous tribe, I believe it was Aboriginal, that in the village, when a family loses a loved one, the rest of the tribe will go into their home and when they're asleep and rearrange every single stick of furniture and everything in the home, so that when the family wakes up the next morning, they wake up to this world where everything is different. And their external experience now matches their internal experience of grief. Because, as you know, grief changes everything. It changes everything. It affects relationship, work, home life, family life, your dealings with your friends, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual self and health, your social interactions, your sensory interactions. You may find that you're more sensitive to music, sound, touch. Grief across the board affects everything. Nothing is the same after the loss of a loved one. So examining all these things that you're going to do, even just briefly, and making new decisions about them is a healthy way to approach celebrations and traditions. So one of the things about traditions is that if you're making a new tradition for a loved one, like reading a new story, either alone or maybe to your family, or maybe having a child read a new story, or having a child write a story. There are so many new traditions you can create on your own. I love DIYing traditions. There's no reason that only the old traditions that were passed down by family or culture or religion are the only ones that matter. You're different now. Your traditions can be different. So that can mean altering the ones you have and or creating new ones. So there's a little recipe for creating traditions, and that is they should honor some of the past. So you may be honoring your loved one. You may be honoring um, uh, things you did together. You may be honoring Christmases, Hanukkahs, Kwanzaa's, different holidays past. You want some little piece of the past that feels familiar to be the foundation of a new tradition so that it's recognizable as a tradition. The second aspect of a tradition is that it reflect authentically you. So something that feels and looks and is recognizable that is you. So if you've lived your life in, on a ranch in cowboy boots, and you're very uh, connected with horses and farm life, and that's your life. A tradition that you create may not be, getting dressed in ball gowns and going to a fancy hotel. Like you want it to be something you say, well, this feels like us. This looks like us. So either way, or your life is lived in the Ritz in Paris and you're always in, designer clothes, you may not decide to just get into board shorts and t-shirts and go to the beach barefoot. You want it to be something that reflects the reality of how you live your life. So number one is honor some aspect of the past or a past tradition that is recognizable. And number two is reflect authentically who you are and how you live your life. And you should be able to see yourself in the mirror of what you create. The third aspect of a tradition is that it inspires. You want this thing to inspire emotion or energy, love, memories, kindness, hope. It must inspire something. Like I think of a classic tradition as the lighting of a candle, that, many traditions past already have candles, but maybe you would create or find a candle that looks a little different, that reflects your style or the way you live your life now. But the inspiration is in lighting the candle, because it is the intention behind it that is the power. You can light a candle because the room is dark, or you can light a candle because you are honoring your loved one and you're taking this moment to really reflect on them and connect with them and think of them with love and kindness and some joy. And the fourth aspect of a ritual is transformation. When you line up honoring, reflecting, and inspiring, there is a transformation that comes from that. And that may be that you are shifted and you are changed from that ritual or tradition. So when you're coming up with any new traditions, think of those steps and rules for creating a tradition: honor, reflect, inspire, and then the transformation is what happens. That there is this new life in that flame of the candle. So I have a lot of experience with tradition and rituals, having spent 7 years working with multi-faith, multicultural, and non-religious people, creating custom ceremonies for weddings and funerals and baby blessings and all kinds of things. So ritual is a very powerful way to move through the holidays. The holidays are a ritual. You put the first song list on. If you celebrate Christmas, you go and get the tree. You pull out the ornaments. Obviously, we have the traditions and the rituals of the menorah during Hanukkah. There's so many things. These things are part of our DNA, and they have a great deal of power. And there's no saying you can't create new traditions for your holidays or even separate from your holidays. People biologically need ritual and tradition. Even Neanderthals celebrated rituals and traditions I shouldn't say even, I'm not disparaging Neanderthals. I'm just saying 50,000 years ago, we were using ritual and tradition, and it still matters very, very much to us. As you see all my little holiday decor that I set up behind me, that every moment of the holidays is ritual and tradition, which can get overwhelming. So that's why I want you to assess these things and make some decisions. So we're going to get to that. In your handout, I have a chart which you can do as your homework. And that is looking at each tradition or each ritual and taking a look at it and making some decisions from a higher place, a more connected place of, of a loving, connected, non-conscious place of support and love, instead of just this desperate, I can't do anything, or I'm I, I I'm coming from a place of fear, so I don't want to let go of any of my traditions or rituals or anything I do. So what I want you to do, because nothing is the same after loss, is one of the things you do in making good decisions is you come from your place of your emotional barometer. And one of those most powerful emotional barometers are your emotions, but also your body. Like, I want you very embodied as you make these decisions. I also want you to have backup plans. If you decide to go to celebrations, or even if you decide to host, you should have a backup plan. That if the day arrives and you simply can't do it, you already have a plan B that is a lesser than, that you can step down to. And I think if you're hosting, if you're taking that on, that everybody, there's perfectly within your right to say to everyone, I'm planning on doing this holiday dinner. As you know, I'm in mourning. I want to do it in celebration of my loved one who's lost. And I'm creating a plan B for myself. This would be part of grievers' rights. I'm creating a plan B for myself. I'm going to confirm with you the day of, because if I wake up and I'm overwhelmed and I can't do it, then this is what's going to happen instead. That's very supportive for you to do for yourself. So one of the things about this to celebrate or not to celebrate, is that when you have children involved, a lot of these things can change. If you have your own young children, you have to make age appropriate decisions for the celebrations you're going to do, the celebrations you may decide not to do, and involving them in traditions and involving them in decisions. Having age appropriate discussions with children about grief and about your emotions, and especially if you're expressing emotions like anger, your guilt, your sadness, maybe you're having trouble with emotional overwhelm and you're crying all the time. If you have children that you're in your life, your own children, you're welcome to message me and we can hop on a consultation call so we can discuss it further. I don't want to go through every iteration of this age, this age, this age in this video, but suffice to say, age appropriate communication of, mommy's really sad, I miss this person so much, and I'm feeling my feelings and I'm crying. It can be one of the greatest gifts you give a child, is to show them authentic grieving. And age appropriate not showing them grieving sometimes, that if it's going to frighten or overwhelm a child, there are appropriate times for you to be crying and releasing your emotions away from them. But there's the big issue of the child's holiday experience and celebration to consider. So with young children, most of my clients find a way to keep some of the major celebrations intact for their children to have that holiday. Again, this is dependent on exactly what you're experiencing, what your loss was, who the person was. So if you want to get more specific and you want more specific ideas, please connect with me so that we can get a game plan for you for the holidays. Again, this is all universal information. Every one of you has a different grief experience. So let's go on to a new take on old traditions. So I have just a couple of ideas I'm going to throw out. I talked about reading a new story with a group. For centuries, people gathered around the fire at the holidays and someone read a story, or they acted out a play, or they played charades, or these things were very simple, but very profound because it was the gathering that mattered more. So, reading different stories is so simple. It's not very charged. There's not all this pressure. There's not all this money. There's not all these things. It's just very simple. And it could be a very sweet story. It could be a story that reminds you of your loved one who's passed or loved ones. Maybe it's something that mattered to them when they were younger, or it's something that recalls them. You can create a tradition where you help someone else. Very powerful any time of the year, but certainly during the holidays. Volunteer. I will probably say in every video and every class I ever give that volunteering at animal shelters, um, even if it's, I have friends that go to shelters and they're professional photographers and they photograph the dogs and cats professionally because better photographs of animals in shelters get them adopted sooner. Now, I know rescue groups where you can take a foster pet for only 2 weeks during the holidays to give that animal a home during the holidays, have a little extra life and love in your home during the holidays. Nice distraction, by the way, especially for the kids, and have that animal have some socializing experience and a little more information, again, to help them get adopted. Fostering is part-time adoption with animals. Or you can donate things to other people. You can use your local Facebook Buy Nothing group. My group, I live in a pretty nice area. I'm surrounded by wealthier neighborhoods, and I'm surprised at the number of people in my local Buy Nothing group who are asking for things that they need during the holidays. And just gifting through Buy Nothing is very powerful. You're moving something out of the house you didn't need anymore, and someone else that appreciates it gets it and really needs it. And you're giving it to an actual person instead of just a Goodwill or dropping it off at a community center. So I like an idea of a book that you create of traditions and stories about your loved one who's passed. This is, distraction is an amazing thing at holiday celebrations. So it can be a book of anything, everything, stories, photos, recipes. Find a big, beautiful either photo album or a book where you can also put maybe some nice archival paper or a big scrapbook. Make one as a new tradition of creating this. And it can be something that you add to every year, that this beautiful book of your loved one comes out at the holidays. It's a new tradition. And every year, especially the first year, you can give fair warning to anyone that you're going to be seeing at a holiday celebration that you're going to be asking for stories. And maybe they can email them to you if they don't have it right and ready, or they can bring it printed on a card and it goes in the book, or they can bring photos. They can bring a recipe, and then they've also baked that banana bread that was the recipe, of different traditions and memories. And you can make it holiday specific. And you can certainly do others that are not holiday specific. I love this tradition. I think this is a really good one for the holidays because it's interactive. You're involving people with stories. You're asking for happy memories. You're really kind of breaking the ice, especially at a first holiday. Maybe if it's been 6 months or 3 months, again, depending on your loss. You're helping people open up and move forward with their mourning and loss and grieving when they may not have known how to even have a conversation with you. You can set a place at the table for your loved one, decorate a second tree, have a stocking, do a memory table that you ask other people to bring things to. You can give gifts in honor of your loved one that are, they may figure out that it's from you, but that doesn't matter. It can be from that person. You can do something new where you go to a new class or you go for a walk as a group. If you like, I know I keep referencing kind of Christian traditions. But I, going caroling, going on a hayride used to be a thing in the holidays. It certainly can be something that's not holiday related, but you get to kind of shake up some traditions. Maybe if going to the same restaurant where you always went on a particular evening, maybe it was winter solstice, that you go to a different restaurant, or you have everyone do a potluck. It doesn't have to be all or nothing anymore. Revising is very powerful. So that's part of our chart. We'll take a look at that in a second. Creating something together. So I'm also an art therapy practitioner, and the power of artwork and creativity cannot be overstated. That it isn't a task, and it's not even a skill. It's a way of using your brain, and it is a way of bringing life and love into your brain. You're creating new neural pathways when you create something. So maybe creating something brand new. Um, you could knit or sew a new stocking or decorations, and have them be different. Create ornaments. I do a tradition every year with a dear friend of mine where we create um, uh, our Christmas cards, which is something that she used to do with her mother, who has passed. She did this when she was a child. She and her mom did this together, and they would cut up old cards or different cards or other artwork, and they would create new cards out of it. And this, I look forward. We only started this a couple of years ago, and she does it in honor of her mother. I never met her mother because she died when my friend was young. I get to feel connected to and honor her mother in this tradition, and I never even met her. That's more life and more love in the world because of her mother. And of course, it means so much to my dear friend, and it means a great deal to me too. So you can sort of recreate anything. And I'm not that much of a DIYer. I'm not that crafty of a person. It's incredibly easy to do things like that. So don't pick something that's too overwhelming. You may have a potluck cooking day with friends and family where you're making the favorite recipes, but you're all doing it together, making a mess out of the kitchen. Or cookie baking day. And then either you eat the food or you share it with other people, share it with neighbors, or maybe take it to a homeless shelter. It Creativity is also in how you're going to approach doing these traditions and revising them, inventing them, reinventing them, and getting a new approach after the loss of a loved one. So again, with the kids, you want to explain um, any of these traditions that you alter. It's something, children grieve differently than adults. Children are more like puddle jumpers. They can be in this feeling and then that feeling, and they're not disrespecting a loved one. If one minute they're crying and they're sad, and the next minute they're laughing and they're playing and they want to enjoy their holiday, that's perfectly natural, and they should be allowed to do that. Um, I like tapping children's creativity for ideas. You may ask them, we want to do this one, I would chunk it down so it's digestible. We want to do this one tradition differently. What are your ideas? We're asking everybody for ideas. I want to know what you think. What would honor our loved one, and what do you want to bring to the table with a new tradition? You might be surprised at how genius of ideas that a child might bring to the table. So what I want to do is just do a very brief guided imagery. Day two's guided imagery was long because it was a big topic. And in fact, I am going to do a different guided imagery than the one that I have in your handout. I'm going to save this one for next week, because next week is inviting in the light. I'm doing it on winter solstice, the 21st, and it is about loneliness and isolation. So I realized right before we started that I wanted to do that for then. So just right now, just to get a little bit centered before we take a look at these exercises, just close your eyes for a second. And if you're seated in a chair, have your feet on the ground, and feel the solidness of the ground underneath your feet, the chair behind your back, and the chair beneath your bum and behind the backs of your legs. And just feel the solidness of that, and just take in a nice deep breath, just very gentle, very easy, no forcing. Breathe in, blow out through your nose like you're blowing out birthday candles, and feel the bottom of your feet. Just feel as though you have some nice roots extending down through the floor and down to the center of the earth. And feel that solidness, that nice connection with love and earth, and this sense of safety and groundedness of being so connected as those roots go down, 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 all the way to the center of the earth. And then bring your awareness to the top of your head, the tippy top of your head, and be aware of a cord that connects you all the way up, 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 up into the sky, and allow that to expand into like a beautiful open funnel of golden light that connects you with all things above, that connects you to life, to unconditional love, to your loved ones, to spirit, the universe, God, whatever you understand as being something larger than you, an unconditional, loving presence. And just feel this connectedness from above and from below, really centering you in just this moment. And be aware of these beautiful connected energies supporting you, giving you strength and love and support. These different types of support, the strength and groundedness from below, and the unconditional love and connectedness from above. And allow them to come together and meet at the very center of your being. And know that this is where this deeper sense, this higher self, this version of you that is always available to help guide you and make good, loving decisions. This place of love, a place of self-acceptance, is here. It resides here. And just holding that space. Really breathe into that space for a moment and allow this feeling to permeate every cell in your body. And holding this space, you can take another deep breath and blow out through your mouth like you're blowing out candles or wishing on a dandelion. And you can open your eyes and just hold on to this space. And this is the space and the feeling and the alignment that I want you to come from as you make decisions about whether to celebrate or not to celebrate, and everything in between. And this is the space that I want you to come from as you look at your traditions and you decide, am I going to keep this tradition this holiday? Am I going to pause it and maybe do it next year because it doesn't feel right for this year, or it's too much? It's just too much. You get to come back to it next year. Or are you going to reject it completely because it no longer fits into your life? Or are you going to rethink it and you can take a vote. None of these have to be decided in a red hot minute. I want you to work with your traditions and really come at this from this grounded, connected, unconditionally loving place of how you're going to approach them. And then the other option you have is to wait and revisit it. So in your handout, I have this table. You can make a bunch of copies of it. You may be surprised to realize just how many traditions will occur to you as you start doing this exercise. This is your homework. Thinking about every tradition over the next few days, asking other people, hey, what are all the traditions you can think of that we usually do? And you can write, it could be everything from, okay, my first tradition is starting that holiday playlist. It's what gets me in the mood of, nope, that's when my brain says it must be the holidays because the music changes. It could be everything from pulling things down from the attic or from storage. It could be wearing different jewelry or clothing. Any little bitty bit of a tradition, how big, how small. I want you to list all of them you can think of, and this will be an ongoing exercise. This may take you a while, especially if you're asking other people. You can also, if it feels right for you in your family dynamic, you may make a copy for everyone in your family and say, let's take a look at this. Because of what we're experiencing this year, because of the loss of our loved one, I want to take a look at our traditions. Now, you know who this is going to land well with, and you know who maybe you don't want to do this with. There are going to be people that say, look, we're fine. We don't want to change a thing. This is our holiday and our tradition. And they simply aren't acknowledging the way you're grieving. Again, watch day 1 and day 2 about a griever's rights and dealing with the world, because this is important. This is important. So you list your holiday tradition. I want you to list the origin of it, because if it originates with your loved one who's passed, that's an important detail. Or if it's something that, oh, we've always done this, or this is a cultural tradition, or this is a religious tradition, or you're going to notice that these land differently, they feel differently, and that has a different charge and level of importance to it. So you're going to list the origin, and then I want you to go through, and you might want to do this in pencil, you can do a quick run through as a first thing and say, do I want to keep it? Pause it, which means not do it this year, maybe do it next year. Reject it completely. You never liked that tradition. You don't want to do it anymore because it doesn't feel right. Rethink it is reinventing it. That's exciting. Or revisit it means I can't make a decision right now, or I want to take a poll of everybody else in the family, or I'm waiting for feedback from other people. This means you're going to circle back to it. So that's your homework, is to do that. If you have any questions, I want you to get on a consultation call with me, and I'm happy to give you insight or help you take a look at what you're dealing with when I have a better understanding of what your grief experience is, who you lost, how their death occurred, what family you're dealing with. Are there children or not children? Are you having a lot of pushback from family or not? I'm happy to help. And I am so grateful that you're here with me. And I hope that my content is helping you. I'd love to get your feedback. I love it when you message me or tell me specifically if something is helping you and what else you need help with. And I do want to say that I'm always available for a free consultation call for how you're going to approach holistically approaching your grief. That just like everything else in life, schooling, work, relationships, plans to buy a house, have a family, retire, any of it, there's always a blueprint. But when it comes to loss and the death of a loved one, all of a sudden we're untethered and we have no North Star, or we're missing this blueprint of how we're going to navigate grieving in a healthy, holistic way and live our lives going forward. Because remember, integrating your grief into your life is healthy grieving. So I thank you for your time today, and look forward to seeing you next Thursday, same time, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in the evening. And that's December 21. So that will be finding the light in the darkness. That is on the cusp of the winter solstice. And finding the light will be working with loneliness and isolation. And I just want you to say, to know that I see you and I'm thinking of you. And as always, I'm sending you love and comfort for your loss. Thank you.